Hello and welcome to my math class. My name is Miss Nikhat Deshmukh and I'll be teaching you quadratic functions today. This is the topic from Cambridge AS Level Pure Math 1 curriculum. Yes, I hope you are able to hear me and see me very clearly. Thank you so much for confirming. Let's start with the topic of the day. But before we start with the objective of the day, we are going to do some brain exercise. So let's start with that. Okay. So I want you to think about two numbers whose sum is equal to 1 and the product is equal to negative 30. Now sum is, it means that I just want you to think about the two numbers whose addition, yeah, sum means addition, is equal to 1 and the product, that means multiplication of the two numbers, should be equal to negative 30. Now the product is negative 30, that means one of them is going to be negative, right? And what are those numbers? Yes, that's right. So they are nothing but 6 and negative 5. Perfect. Let's have a look at another quiz. Yes, I want you to think about the two numbers whose sum is negative 5 and the product is minus 66. Now, since the product is minus 66, that means it has a unique factor within it, isn't it? Yes, that's right. It's nothing but negative 11 and 6. Perfect. Very good. Now, I'm going to show you this expression which you have already seen in your grade 10 or IGCSE level. So in this case, when we are factorizing this kind of an expression, over here also we look for the two factors, isn't it? The sum should be equal to 7 and the product should be equal to, of the two factors, should be equal to 12. And what are the two numbers? And that's right, perfect. It's nothing but plus 3 and plus 4. And we write it, or we factorize the expression something like this. I hope you are able to recall it. Perfect. Okay. Let's have a look at another expression of this type. X square minus 9x plus 18. So we want to look at the two factors whose sum is negative 9 and the product is 18. So since one of the number is negative, so you have to be a little careful over here. Exactly. Both the factors are negative itself, isn't it? There, if the two numbers are negative, we get a negative 6 plus negative 3 is gonna be equal to negative 9, and negative 6 multiplied by negative 3 is going to give us positive 18 as the answer. Perfect. Very good. So let's start with the chapter of our book, that is quadratics. Yes, and I want you to carefully look at the image over here. In this image you can see many curves, right? So these are very special because we are going to learn them in detail in future in this chapter itself, right? Okay, so the objective of today's class is solving quadratic equations by factorization, which we have just now done. Yes, but we are going to look at some different equations also right now. Okay, now what is a quadratic function? So as you have seen earlier in this in the previous quizzes, that the quadratic functions or quadratic equations. See, what are the functions that we are going to learn in details in our next chapter. But for now, you can just remember the form y is equal to ax square plus bx plus c. This is called as a quadratic function. Yeah. And it has this unique property only because its its highest power of x, or the degree of x, is 2, right? Yes, and then there is this condition given over here where a is not equal to 0. What does that mean? What will happen if a is equal to 0? Think about it. Yes, will the quadratic equation will remains quadratic? No, isn't it? If a is equal to 0, then the expression ax square will become 0, and because of that, what will happen? The equation will reduce to a linear equation. I should write b over here, bx plus c. Yeah, so it becomes linear, it doesn't remain quadratic. So that's why a should not be equal to 0 in this case, right? That's why we have kept that condition fixed. Yes. And what are the other things which we might look in our future classes, which we will look actually in our future classes? We will be looking at the interesting properties of a quadratic graph, also how they are different from a linear function. Now, since you have already seen linear function, which I just now showed you, bx plus c, the highest power of x is 1 in that case. And when we graph the linear equation, what happens? What kind of graphs do we get? Yes, we get straight lines, isn't it? So you can see that the straight lines are given by linear equations or linear functions. But if you plot the graphs of a quadratic function, it will be something like that, which you can see on your screen. Yeah, they are the curved graph. You can connect it with the image which I showed you before in the class. Right, so we will be studying that also in details. Another objective which we will look in our future classes is nothing but a quadratic function has a maxima or minimum value, and it has some interesting symmetry as well. So you can see, you can look at the quadratic graph over here, and you can see that it is kind of a symmetrical shape. Yes, yeah, it's a U-shaped curve. I have done the freehand drawing over there, but when you see a perfect quadratic graph on Desmos, etc., or when we will be graphing it on our own, at that time also you will realize that it is perfectly symmetrical, right? Also, it has a maxima or minima because of these turning points. So see, this U-shaped curve is also possible, which will have this turning point, and it is giving you a minimum value, right? And over here, if you see this kind of a mountain like of a structure, it is going to give you a maximum value, right? So we will be looking at these properties also in detail and find out the maxima and minima as well. So let's start with our first exercise, exercise 1A, and in which we are supposed to do the factorization of the quadratic equation, right? So you have done the factorizing thing just now in our quiz in the beginning of the class. Let's apply the same method over here as well. So in this case, the product should be equal to -10. So we are going to look at the two numbers in such a way, or split this -10 in such a way that the product of the two numbers should be equal to -10, and the sum should be equal to 3, right? So, I will give you some time for solving this equation, and then later on we can have a discussion of the answers. Yes. Okay, perfect. So let's continue. Yes. So the answers or the two factors which you should have got is, what is it? Yes, that's right. 5 and 2, but one of them is negative, and that is nothing but 2. So 5 and minus 2, isn't it? Yes, perfect. So let me show you the steps over here. It's like x square, then plus 5x minus 2x minus 10 equals 0. So now you just have to take the common term from both the pairs one by one. So this is x plus 5, and then minus 2, x plus 5 equals 0. So now we need to make sure that the brackets have same expression so that it can be taken out common. X plus 5, then x minus 2 equals 0, right? Now, since we are supposed to solve using factorization method, this has to be further continued and you are supposed to solve it for x, right? Find the value of x. So solving means we are finding the value of x over here, correct? So x equals -5 and x equals +2. These are the answers, and you can check whether your answer is correct by what should you do? That's right, you should substitute the value in your left hand side of the equation and get 0 on the right hand side, right? So let's quickly have a look at it. Let's substitute -5 over here. So -5 square plus 3 minus 5 plus minus 10. So this is going to give us 25 minus 15 minus 10. So this is nothing but 25 minus 25, which gives us 0 at the end. So your answer for -5 is absolutely correct. You can quickly check 2 as well. Okay, so that's right. All right, so let us solve the f part also. What do you think? What are you going to do in order to get the answer over here? Yes, that's right. You are going to first convert it or rearrange it in order to get this standard form. Yeah, so let's do that. For that you have to open the bracket, so which is nothing but 10x squared, then then minus 13x equals 3, right? Now 3 has to come on the left hand side, so 10x squared. Now minus 13x minus 3 equals 0, right? So we are looking for, now since there is a number over here, you need to consider this and multiply it with negative 3, which gives us negative 30. And in this case, you are supposed to factorize negative 30 so that the product is negative 30 and the sum is what? Negative 13, right? Yeah. Okay. So what are the two numbers? Yes, you have other options as well. You can check, like you can check for 3 and multiplied by 10. This also gives you 30, isn't it? 6 multiplied by 5. But the condition is that the addition should be negative 30. So if you put a negative sign, they are not going to give you negative 13 as the answer, isn't it? So there is one more option over here, 15 and 2, right? You need to put 15 as negative so that you get the factor correctly. Yeah, negative 15 and 2, right? So this is the strategy for finding out the correct factor. Okay, so this is 10x squared, then minus 15x plus 22x minus 3 equals 0. So again, the same procedure happens over here also, but the numbers are also gonna come common here, right? So 5 is common and then x. So 5 2s are 10, so 2x minus 5 3s are 15, so 3. And then plus 1 will come over here because the bracket is given directly here, equals 0. So we are going to get a fraction answer over here, right? 2x minus 3 and 5x plus 1 which will give me equal to 0. So this will give me the answer as 3 over 2 and or either x is going to be 3 over 2 or x is negative 1 upon 5, right? Yes, and the checking can be done the way I have showed you in our previous question. I hope it's clear. Yes, so now this is the time to solve one past paper question. Now look at this question and think about it, whether you can solve it using the factorization method. Now, yeah, so you need to think about some indices properties as well. You can convert this equation in this form, x raised to 1 upon 3 squared, right? Minus 5x raised to 1 upon 3 is given as it is and plus 1 equals 0. Yes, so from here you can identify that a little bit modification will make it a quadratic equation, right? So you can substitute for x in the beginning. Yeah, so put y or any other variable as x raised to 1 upon 3. So the equation gets converted into a quadratic standard form, 6y squared minus 5y plus 1 equals 0. Now the method which we have calculated previously, you are supposed to solve using that method itself. So we are factorizing 6 in order to get product as 6 and the addition should be equal to negative 5, right? So that is nothing but 3 and 2, isn't it? 3 and 2, but both of them should be negative. Negative 3, negative 2, right? So this gives me, let me solve it or let us solve it together. So minus, yeah, what will come after this? Very good. So 2y plus 1 equals 0. And then 3y comes out common and this is 2y minus 1. Then here you are going to take minus 1 common out. So 2y minus 1 equals 0. So you will get the answer as 2y minus 1 equals 0 and 3y minus 1 equals 0, right? Brackets are not necessary, so you can remove it over here. No, not required. Yep. So now this is y equals half and y equals 1 over 3. But here, this is not your final solution. What you have to do is, yes, since there is no place over here, I can continue my calculations here. So y has to be resubstituted as x raised to 1 upon 3, which is equal to 1 over 2. and x raised to 1 over 3 equals 1 upon 3, right? Now, since we don't want 1 upon 3, you can cube them, cube on both the sides. So this becomes x, 1 upon 2 cube is 8, right? And x equals 1 upon 27, 3 cube. These are your final answers. Let's have a look at the marking scheme. Let's see which steps are the key steps which are giving us the marks. Yeah. So let me just show you. Just a minute. Yeah. Let me just erase it for you. Yes, no problem. I hope you remember. You already have the written work in your books. You can, just highlight the key steps, which are very important to write in your method steps. Okay. So now, yeah. See, this factorization step is important. So we have showed that. So we are going to get marks for this. So this is shown. Then what else? Yeah, the resubstitution of x raised to 1 upon 3 is important, leading to the answers, right? Yes, perfect. You can give the decimal answer as well, but they are supposed to be till 3 significant figures. Yes. Okay. That's all for today's class. I'm giving you some extra practice work. You can download the worksheet from this link and practice. The more you practice, the more better you are gonna become in your math classes. Yes. Thank you so much for attending my class. Bye bye. Take care.